that screen you're looking at right now. We just accept it. But what if I told you its design is basically a ghost? It's the shadow of this incredible unfinished revolution. This is the story of a future we were promised, a future that never really showed up. No, seriously, just think about it for a second. For the last, 40 years? Every single computer, from the big desktop PC to the phone in your pocket, has looked pretty much the same. You've got your windows, you've got your icons, you've got your pointer. How is it that we landed on this one design and then just stopped? Yeah, this whole digital desktop thing, it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was this radical, almost science fiction invention, a reality that was dreamed up by a small group of brilliant minds at the legendary Xerox PARC. And you know what they were trying to do? They weren't just building computers. They were trying to build a brand new medium for human thought. And the man right at the center of all of this, that's our main guy, Alan Kay. He's this visionary computer scientist who literally helped invent the world you're using right now. But here's the twist. He ended up arguing that what we have today, it's just a pale shadow of what they originally intended. It's like a powerful, brilliant idea that got watered down and misunderstood on its way to the rest of us. Okay, so to really get what was lost in translation, we gotta go back to the one big idea that started it all. It's a totally different way of thinking about how software should even work. So back in the 60s, programming was, it was a mess. Imagine a totally disorganized kitchen. You've got all your ingredients, that's your data, piled up on one counter, and then way over on the other side of the room, you've got all your recipes, the procedures. Nothing was bundled together. So trying to make a complex meal or, complex software, it was a nightmare. Just super chaotic. And then, in 1966, this young grad student, Alan Kay, has this incredible aha moment, a total epiphany. He sees a link between two ideas that seem completely unrelated, but when you put them together, that's what sparks the revolution. So here's what he connected. On one hand, you had this thing called Sketchpad. It was a graphics program where you could make a master drawing, say, of a car, and then just stamp out endless copies or instances of that car. Pretty cool. On the other hand, there was this programming language called Simula, and what it did was bundle the data and the instructions for that data together into one self-contained package. They called it an object. And Kay just looked at these two things and realized, wait a minute, this is the exact same idea. It's just being described in two totally different ways. And as he put it himself, that was the big hit. It was the moment everything just clicked into place for him. He saw this entirely new way to build software. You don't separate the ingredients and the recipes anymore. Instead, you build a world full of these little, independent, self-contained things. And this is the key takeaway, right here. Instead of having one giant single brain for a program, imagine a whole universe of tiny, independent little computers, or objects. Each one knows how to do its own job, and it's super protective of its own information. So how do they get anything done? Simple. They just send messages to each other. And just like that, Object-Oriented Programming, or OOP, was born. Okay, so now that they have this incredibly powerful new way of building things, Kay and his team at Xerox PARC, they had much bigger plans than just writing better code. No, they wanted to build an entirely new world, a whole new environment for thinking. The language they created to do this was called Smalltalk, and it was the very first one to go all in on this object philosophy. You can think of it as the crucial bridge, the missing link between those early ideas from the 60s and the languages we know today, like C++ and Java. The stuff that built pretty much our entire modern world. But again, for them, this was never just about a programming language. They truly believed the computer could be this dynamic new medium, an amplifier for our brains, for our creativity. They saw it on the same level as, the invention of writing. That's how big they were thinking. And the ultimate expression of this vision? It was a concept they called the Dynabook. Now picture this. Decades before the iPad was even a glimmer in anyone's eye, Kay was imagining this cheap, portable, connected computer, something a kid could use to simulate entire worlds, compose music, create art, and just learn. It wasn't about being a device to consume stuff on. It was a true tool for thought. All right, so if the vision was that big, that revolutionary, what happened? How did we go from the Dynabook to the desktop we're all staring at right now, the one that Kay himself would later call limited? Well, you've probably heard this part of the story. It's pretty legendary in tech circles. Steve Jobs takes a tour of Xerox PARC. He sees their graphical user interface, and his mind is just blown. He and his team at Apple immediately go and adapt those ideas for the Apple Lisa, and then, famously, the Macintosh. And that, in turn, inspired Microsoft to create Windows. And boom, the revolution was packaged up and sold. And that brings us right to the core of Alan Kay's whole argument. The big question is, in that rush to make a product people could buy, was the most important part of the original vision just lost? Kay's belief was yes. In making the interface easy to understand, they also accidentally made it shallow. Let's dig into that, because it's a fascinating point. What Apple gave us with the Macintosh was what's called the desktop metaphor. Right? You've got files, you've got folders, a trash can. It's all designed to feel like a physical office desk. But Kay said that was the wrong goal. He argued they should have been aiming for a user illusion. Not a metaphor for the old world, but a completely new kind of magical reality with its own rules. One that isn't stuck with the limitations of the physical world, but actually gives us brand new powers. I mean, he put it so perfectly. He basically said that trying to explain this powerful new thing using old world analogies was a huge mistake. This new medium deserved its own new reality, not just a weak copy of the old one. And he had some really great examples to back this up. Think about it. In your physical office, a piece of paper can only be in one folder at a time. Okay, that makes sense. But why on earth should a digital file have that same restriction? It's just data. It could be in 100 places at once. Or how about this? Why do you have to stop what you're doing and go open a totally separate help program? Shouldn't help just be there as part of what you're already doing? The metaphor, he argued, was actually holding the system back. It was making it less powerful. So, okay, if the desktop metaphor was a misstep, what was the other path? What was the future that Alan Kay was actually trying to build? Well, for him, the next big leap wasn't going to be about fancier icons or slightly better windows. No way. It was supposed to be a fundamental shift in how we even relate to our computers, moving away from us being the master and the computer being a dumb tool, and toward a future of intelligent partnership. He called this idea intelligent agents. Now, try to imagine software that doesn't just sit there waiting for you to click something. Instead, it's like a real assistant that actually understands what you're trying to do. It gets your goals. So you wouldn't have to give it step-by-step commands. You just tell it what you want to accomplish, and it would go off and do the research, organize things, and guide you through it. See the difference? It's a shift from manipulating a tool to delegating tasks to a smart partner. And that was always the point for Kay. The real power of the computer wasn't just about making old tasks a little bit faster or easier. It was about unlocking completely new ways for us to think. The final frontier wasn't going to be faster chips. It was going to be our own minds, amplified and extended by these incredible new tools. Which kind of leaves us all with a big question, doesn't it? The digital world we live in, we basically inherited it from the 1980s. But maybe, just maybe, it was never supposed to be the final destination. Maybe it was only ever supposed to be the first stop. And now, in this age of AI everywhere, maybe, just maybe, it's finally time to get back on that journey and finish Alan Kay's unfinished revolution.